Assalamu alaikum, dear audience. Welcome to another class of EN-534 Environmental Law and Policy Development by Tufail Ali Zubedi. In our previous classes, we have discussed about the historic development of environmental movement and precursors to the international treaties, namely the Stockholm Convention of 1978. Pakistan also participated in this convention, which led to the introduction of the first Pakistan Environmental Protection Ordinance in 1980. We then traced the history of environmental law to the introduction of Pakistan Environmental Protection Act 1997 and ultimately to the 18th Constitutional Amendment Act 2010, by which provinces were enabled and entitled to form their provincial environmental legislation. In today's class, we will study the impact of this 18th Constitutional Act 2010, through which Sindh Environmental Protection Act 2014 was introduced. This Sindh Environmental Protection Act 2014 is also the subject of our class today. So, without further delays, let's start with our class. Don't forget to have a copy of the Sindh Environmental Protection Act 2014 for your ready reference. The Sindh Environmental Protection Bill 2014 was passed by Sindh Provincial Assembly on 24th of February 2014. It was approved by Governor of Sindh on 19th of March 2014. It was finally published as an Act of the Legislature of Sindh through notification on the 20th of March 2014. In the following slides, we will be going through all the sections of this Act, inshallah. It is important to understand that this Act provides requirements of environmental legal compliances and lays the foundation for all the rules and regulations laid under this Environmental Act. All the rules and regulations laid under this Act provide guidance for the requirements of environmental legal compliances issues that were initially given in the Act of 2014. This slide has been prepared to present the Sindh Environmental Protection Act 2014 at a glance. It is color-coded, which is to group similar categories and requirements for compliance. For example, Sindh Environmental Protection Council is shaded grey. Sindh Environmental Protection Agency and all its requirements is shaded as blue, while Sindh Environmental Protection Tribunal and all things related to it has been shaded as pink. Please take a minute to go through this chart before we dive into the actual Environmental Act in depth. This is the legend for the color codes used to group similar categories and requirements for compliance in our previous slide. Now, let's start with the Sindh Environmental Protection Act of 2014. Please open your copy of Sindh Environmental Protection Act 2014 provided in Class 2 and follow my lead. The Sindh Environmental Protection Act provides for the protection, conservation, rehabilitation, and improvement of the environment, for the prevention and control of pollution, and promotion of sustainable development. We can say that the function of this Act is to provide protection, conservation, rehabilitation, and improvement of the environment, and its overall objective is prevention and control of pollution and promotion of sustainable development. This act explains environment as air, water, land, and natural resources, all layers of the environment, all organic and inorganic matter and living organism, ecosystems and ecological relationships, buildings, structures, roads, facilities and works, all social and economic conditions affecting community life, and the interrelationship between any of the factors in subclause A to F made under this Act. So, Section 1 is the introduction to Sindh Environmental Protection Act 2014. Subsection 1 states this act may be called the Sindh Environmental Protection Act of 2014. Subsection 2 states it extends to the whole of the province of Sindh. Subsection 3 states it comes into force at once. So basically, Section 1 introduces its name, its geographical spread, and the time of its effectiveness. In the Section 2, provided in the SEPA Act 2014, it gives a list of definitions. Please go through Section 2 in the Sindh Environmental Protection Act 2014.